brings us to topic number one. So, contractors, this is the prerequisite. Contractors quite simply exist to build projects or to service projects, but they're there to build projects, build things, and keep those things running. So, delivering a project to a customer, that's the foundation that all contractors are built upon. So that never changes, whether you're stage zero and you just got your contractor's license and you're figuring out what you do. The very first thing you have to do is you have to go get a job. And you have to, that's number one.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change. That doesn't change whether you have zero employees and you don't even have a job yet as starting out at stage zero, or whether you're way on the other side, like where you started your career, stage 8 or 9 or so down the road. You always have to build the project well. What changes is that as you grow, you're progressively delivering more projects to more customers each year. You're building larger, more complex projects. The big change is that you're progressively building more support systems, and that's the business of building. And that's essentially what you're going to talk about with the contractor business model. Anything to add to that? Or how about your favorite project? What was your favorite project that you worked on?
It's interesting. I actually have two, but for entirely different reasons. Probably my favorite was we were doing the Kahului Harbor extension over on Maui, and that was probably my favorite because we were pouring underwater concrete, we were driving pile, there was some excavation because we were extending the harbor. There was just a lot going on there, but very few people, right? So because it was a little postage stamp of a size of a job. And that one was great because I got to see and do a lot of stuff. We were, of course, running lean. So got to work in a lot of different areas and really learned the different facets of the business there. That was a lot of fun. And it's Hawaii. How can you not like being there?
How could you not have fun? Right.
Exactly.
So did support system include surf time?
Did it include what?
Surfing time.
You know what? No, I do not surf. No. There's critters that live in the ocean. I'm not thrilled about looking at them close up. So no.
All right.
But we did have the foreman would go out every morning and set their traps, and at the end of the day, if they caught anything, that would be our fish fry at 3:30. So, yeah, just a great tight knit group of people. The level of talent there was tremendous. But that was a very fun job. The other one, as ugly as a job that it was probably the I-405 in LA. And that's because of all the people. There were so many that you could help through. And there were, talk about the systems that have to support the business. I mean, that was $1.5 billion job. And we had subsystems of systems, and helping the people to work through those and everything else was pretty cool. I wouldn't wish that job on anyone, but it was pretty cool for all the people that were there.
That's it. I'm sure we'll come back to that one because your staff, if I remember right, at the 405 project was huge. Like, I mean, most companies don't have a staff that large. You get what, 80 something people just in contracts or in business management side?
Yeah, just the inside the hinges stuff. At our high end, we were probably at about 100. We had 11. I want to say it was 11 different departments between, project engineering and subcontracts and risk management and everything else. And and that wasn't doing a lick of work outside yet. Yeah, you get outside and we had thousands of people. So yeah, it was huge.
Lots of moving parts. And
Yep.
so that kind of brings us to this next piece. And I love this quote from Elon Musk where he's talking about the factory is the machine that builds the machine. And as he's talking about that, he's still, crashing rockets here and there. And so in the construction business, the construction business is the machine that builds the projects. So that's the correlation. And one thing that Elon Musk, described in a tour of Starbase, which is kind of their rocket manufacturing, system, that he's like it requires 10 to 100 times more effort to design the manufacturing system than to design the rocket. And they're still working to design the rocket, still evolving that constantly, but it's he was really intense on how hard the manufacturing process is. And if you followed him, he was just as intense on how hard the manufacturing process was for cars. And the thing is that he had lots of models to follow when it came to building cars, and it was still incredibly hard and difficult to do. Right? We've had manufacturing systems for cars for 100 and some years since Henry Ford put the first assembly line in place. Construction is a very fragmented business, unlike the handful of companies that can launch rockets or the handful of companies that make automobiles. Construction is a very fragmented business, and there's only a handful, truly a handful, like we talked about last time, of contractors that are above 1,500 employees that have a lot of those systems, and kind of have the machine that builds the projects. So anyways, that's a lot of what we're going to talk through today. It's difficult. You're always progressively getting there, and just remember, it's kind of a long journey. If you look at Elon Musk's journey with SpaceX, there was 3 failed launches before their first success. That took 6 years. That's just before they got their first rocket out of the atmosphere into space. Then 5 years of improving that launch. Then they said, okay, we'd like to land a rocket so it could be reusable. That was a big one. 13 failed landings before success. Another 3 years. Learning every time. The other takeaway from it is they never had the same failure twice. They had lots of failures, but they never had the same failure twice. So they put a lot of time and energy into the systems to track down everything that could possibly go wrong with the rocket, knowing that 99% of that was all waste, but it was the 1% of those sensors and all that information coming back that said, that was the problem. Let's engineer past that so that we never have that happen again. And then they started building the rocket factory, so to speak, in 2014, and they're still very, very much working on it, as well as improving the rockets with each iteration. So really, building a construction business is no different. It's equally frustrating. Some of the crashes may not make as good a video, but they are equally costly, and you just got to walk through it. And Sue, you've seen this now a lot, both in in your career as a contractor, as well as in your career consulting and advising lots of other contractors. Anything to add to this one while we keep watching all the explosions?
Well, it's funny, right? Because most people, well, everybody who gets into the contracting business, typically they get in to build stuff. They don't necessarily think about all of the other stuff or the repetition of. They look at it from one job to the next to the next. It's when you start stacking all those jobs together and you start collecting that data from that first job that went really, really well or went really, really bad. And yeah, making just an incremental change. Um, it's just hard sometimes to get your head up, off the ground or off the
Yeah.
tailgate or from the back end of the shovel and go, I should probably be looking out a little bit further than this to see, what my next step might be. So yeah, been on a lot of these that have been a crash and burn. They're not pretty, but boy, you literally do not do them again. You learn quickly from failure.